Congressman Dean Phillips, are you at DC right now?
I'm in Washington, Sophie, but honored and grateful to be with all of you, and thank you for the invitation.
Please, the floor is yours.
Well, thank you. And Sophie, I want to thank you. And I just listened to your comments about the railroad, and I recognize it's such a grand opportunity to remind young people in our country about contributions of Asians, the Asian diaspora, and we have a lot of work to do. And I want to join you in exposing these beautiful parts of our history and some of the very difficult parts of our history. And I want to be your partner in that. So greetings, everybody. Honored by your invitation, and so thrilled to celebrate AAPI Heritage Month with all of you.
Sorry, Congressman. I should let the folks know that you are the 3rd District Congress U.S. House Representative, and your district is Bloomington, Eden Prairie, Edina, Minnetonka, Maple Grove, Plymouth, and Wayzata, and most of our members are in those cities. Sorry to interrupt here, but the question, I think it's a great leadway. Since we're talking about Asian hate, we're talking about the Chinese railroad. One of the questions the community has is many people suggest that Asian hate is only the symptom. That's not the cause. We should really dig into the root of the issue. Part of the things people are talking about is, do you see its possibility to teach Asian American history in schools? We understand mostly that's a state issue, but can the federal government help in that regard?
Well, first of all, Chen, nice to see you, my friend, and thank you. And the answer is absolutely. It's become so clear to so many of us that we're not doing a proficient job at educating our young people about our country's history and the contributions of so many communities to its success, as Sophie noted so eloquently. Whether it's African American history, Asian American history, Jewish American history, oftentimes the contributions of minority groups are ignored as the contributions of certain other groups are enhanced. And I think it is an opportunity. And to your point, it is mostly a states' rights issue as they essentially develop curricula for all the public schools. But it doesn't mean that the federal government doesn't play a role in setting standards and encouraging, promoting, and providing incentives. And we intend to do so. And if there's any silver lining to these very difficult days, and so many communities being the subject of hate and xenophobia and mean-spiritedness, it's that it brings us together. And as the grandchild of immigrants myself, who suffered terrible persecution in Minneapolis because they were Jewish in the 1940s, I can empathize. Through those stories, I consider it my responsibility, Chen, to elevate the voices of such a wonderful mosaic of communities, the Asian community and so many others that deserve more prominence and celebration, and that begins with young people. So the answer is absolutely.
Thank you, Congressman. I'd love to hear that. I'd love to see if that's a possibility. I know a lot of people love to see more history, Chinese and AAPI history taught in schools. Second question we have is, we noticed recently the Senate has resoundingly passed a bill to target Asian hate crimes. We understand it is going through the House right now. Can you talk about what this bill actually do, and how can it help the Asian community? And do you think it will be effective?
Well, Chen, to your point, the Senate did pass it in a very important bipartisan fashion. The House will be considering it here, I think, in the next week or so. The sooner the better, in my estimation. It has 3 core components, as you all might know. It increases resources for investigations into hate crimes. It starts to invest more in the tracking and investigation unit at the Department of Justice, which is terribly important. And it spreads the best practices as those are developed with other agencies around the country. And I think it's worth noting, though, Chen, that there are things we can do at the federal level to draw attention to issues, to provide resources for investigations. But you can't legislate love, and you can't legislate compassion. You can't legislate respect. You can't legislate decency. That comes from each of us in our communities and our houses of worship, our parents, our friends and our neighbors. And that is the work we have to do. We do so by invitation, not confrontation. And I just want you to know that I stand in solidarity with all of you. We'll continue to, I have in the past, I will in the future. And this is not work that will be done expeditiously or easily, but we have to convert one heart and one mind at a time. And a bill like the one we're about to consider, the anti-hate bill, is a small step, but one that has to be complemented with a lot of very difficult work in our communities.
Speaking of change one mind and one soul at a time, May is the AAPI Heritage Month. We're trying to do our best to celebrate, recognize the AAPI community and our AAPI friends. And I count you on as one of the AAPI friends. And but this AAPI is probably the least celebrated group in our the general public. What do you think? What do you suggest that would help to promote or get more recognition? What other things can we do to change the minds?
Well, Chen, I'll share some of my thoughts, but I most importantly invite all of you to share ideas with me, and that I can elevate and propagate and distribute. In my personal experience, those human connections that are so important and sometimes so hard to develop, often come with cultural exchanges. They often come by breaking bread together over music, exposing and promoting the various cultures that make United States such a remarkable and unique country. And so I think the best way to do so is through events, invitations for those who may not know much about Asian history in America and various Asian cultures, to share the extraordinary. And by the way, there is no singular Asian culture, of course, but to share the mosaic and the breadth of so many wonderful cultures, the food, the music, the stories, and the histories. And I think that's a beautiful way to express to young children, to bring parents out, and to start converting the hearts and minds that we need to. And that's why I say invitation. We're not going to defeat hate with confrontation. We're going to defeat it by invitation. And that means bringing people together. And I personally think over food and music is the best way to do it.
Two things we love in the Chinese culture, and we are just in the middle of an artist session, so this just fits right in. Thank you so much, Congressman. Any other wisdom you want to share with us?
Oh, well, I didn't come to share wisdom, but I did come to share support and affection and my love with all of you. I know how difficult this year has been for our whole community, and I know in particular for the Asian community, for reasons we all understand. And I'm here to let you know that I am your brother and your friend and your companion as we work together to improve our communities, not just as it relates to relations with one another, but as it relates to our future, so that our children and grandchildren and future generations enjoy a more prosperous, a more healthful, and a more peaceful world. And that means working together. So Chen, I thank you so much for your friendship over the years. And to all of you, I look forward to future invitations, and just want you to know I have your backs and I have you on my mind, and I ask you to keep the faith.
Thank you, Dean. I really appreciate Congress Dean Phillips' time.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. And
Everybody,
yeah,
best wishes.
Best wishes to you as well.
Thank you for your support.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank